Hi, this is Christine for Trinity Stamps. This week I'm so excited to be showing you a sneak peek of the new release that's coming up on November 2nd. That's next Saturday. The stamp sets will be released. I'm just over the moon with the designs. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and Davina Cottrell has designed some beautiful Harry Potter themed stamps with all these intricate images. Um, in addition, there's a sentiment stamp that coordinates with it, and also a die cut of Hogwarts, as you'll see in a little bit. So here I'm stamping Harry and his robe and his broom. And Davina has really gone out of her way to make it, look like the Nimbus 2000. His glasses fit perfectly, and I have to get in the way so that I can really make sure I get it fit perfectly, but it really does. I did it a few times before this video, and it's really perfectly aligned. And then now I have also the lightning bolt that has to go on his forehead, and unfortunately I have to get in the way again. But it also fits perfectly on his forehead. So I'm stamping with Memento ink so that I can use Copic markers, because it's a Copic marker friendly ink. Then here I'm going to stamp the snitch. The snitch is a ball that you catch during Quidditch, and it's gold. And at this point I thought I would just stamp it on this gold cardstock, but you'll see later on that I felt it wasn't glittery enough, so I've used something else. And I really racked my brain to try and find the most glittery gold that I had. So here's one of the Hogwarts die cuts, and I want to make it look a little more special with some muted gold cardstock behind it. So I've put double-sided tape on the back of it, and I'm going to tape it on, and then I'm going to fussy cut it so that it fits perfectly behind the Hogwarts castle. And I'm not going to show this because that would be really boring. So you'll just see it pop up later on, but I just wanted to show what I did. So I tape it on, and then I'm going to cut it out. So here in Quidditch, the houses wear their main color. So I didn't have maroon, since Harry's from Gryffindor, I didn't have maroon Copic, so I had to sort of fudge my way by putting 3 different colors together. And it's still not perfect, but it's not horrible either. So don't forget, you can always, if you have a few Copic markers, combine them in a way that works for you. So here I have Harry. I have just colored in what needs to be colored in, and I've colored in his hair with these 3 Copic colors off camera, and also his face and hands with this color. And I've used I wanted to highlight his hair a little bit more, so I added some Micron black marker. So I cut the Quidditch robes down to size, and I've used Connect glue to connect the broom through the legs, and I've cut a slit in the Quidditch robes and slid that over the broom, because in this card I want to have him flying. So here I'm going to use Connect glue to adhere the robe to the Harry outline, and we still have the broom right there. And Connect glue is great. If it seeps out the side, it really, you won't see it afterwards. It dries, and it's practically invisible. So the broom actually has some gold features to it. So I'm using, this is a very sparkly um, gold. It's drawing ink from Winsor and Newton, but it's so sparkly. Um, and I ended up using a Fantastic to sort of as a paintbrush to dip into the Winsor ink and to make that part gold. So here I decided I wanted a frame around the whole card front. So I'm going to keep that for another project. And here's the part that I do want. I have this frame, and that will pop up later too. And that's made by putting two die cuts adherent next to each other when you cut out on the die cut machine. So here I'm going to use Versamark ink to draw 3 lines that are going to be heat embossed with gold. The Quidditch robes, at least the Gryffindor ones, have these lines across, and they're gold or almost a goldish yellow. So I decided to, I love gold, so that was an easy pick for me. And normally you'd want to put a little powder on before you'd emboss with Versamark, but it didn't matter much, not much stuck except where I wanted it. And so there's the finished Harry. I decided I wanted to use a really dark navy cardstock. I wanted this to be at night because the die cut set with Hogwarts also comes with a moon and stars, and I wanted to use the moon and some clouds. So I decided to keep this sort of at night and have a little moonshine, and I'm using squeezed lemonade distress oxide ink and just blending a little bit in a corner. Here's the moon that I've been talking about, and I'm marking it up with Versamark ink pen, and then I'm going to dip it in the gold powder and emboss it. And I'm dipping it in multiple times, so there's not as much powder on there as I'd like. And at first I thought I liked that it looked a little bit not smooth and a little rougher in appearance. And I'm not going to show this, but I actually added multiple layers of Versamark ink on top and made it more smooth. So here I'm just marking up the other side. And so it looks like I just did this once, but I actually ended up doing it about 3 times. And it gets just smoother as you go along. It's really pretty. You'll see on the final card that it really looks quite beautiful. So here I'm heat setting it. And I always check to make sure it's hot enough so it doesn't warp the paper. It's not on the paper too long. So here's the moon, and that, as I said, I did it multiple times. So I decided the white frame was too white, so I have some Brilliance Galaxy Gold, and I decided I've never used that in this manner, but actually it worked pretty well. So I just buffed some on the frame, and it really, it almost behaved like oxide ink. It just went right on and just gave a faint gold sheen. So I was pretty happy with that outcome. And I can see myself definitely doing that again. And as far as gold goes, the Galaxy Gold is a very faint gold, so I actually rarely use it. It's not brilliant enough usually for me, but in this case, I think it really works well. It gives faint sheen, and so the frame is not so white. So here I'm setting up, off camera I sort of placed some items, and here I'm adhering some items so that I can figure out exactly where my sentiment is going to go. There's so many things happening in this card that it's a lot easier for me to tell where to put the sentiment if I place some items down. And you'll see there's the moon, and I've actually colored some clouds. Those also come in the die cut set with the Hogwarts castle. And here the trees come as well. I've just Copic colored them, and I decided I really wanted to tuck the tree in, so I just cut off a little bit more from the base. I like to adhere stuff off the frame. So I'm going to do the same thing with the moon. I'm going to adhere it a little bit off the frame. So once I put Harry on and sort of the clouds, I can kind of tell where the sentiment can fit. So I decided I would put it there, and I quickly put it in my Misty, and now I'm putting a little powder so that I don't get any stray embossing powder sticking to the card, because at this point I've invested a lot of time in the card. So here I'm using Versamark ink pad, and you'll actually be able to see this because of the dark cardstock. And it's really ideal to do this before you adhere stuff on, but again, I was really afraid to eyeball it. So for me, I'd rather adhere some stuff down, and then I was pretty lucky the powder didn't go too much all over. So I had very few stray powder pieces. So again, I'm making sure my heat gun is good and hot, so it doesn't warp the paper too much. So I wanted Harry in this photo to be flying with the snitch. So I'm measuring out where I would want to do a cut line so that I can have him sliding back and forth. So I'm using pencil to trace it out, and then I'm going to use a craft knife to cut in there. And then I realized as I was doing this that really having the T ruler there would help me cut a straight line. So I placed the T ruler first and then cut against it. Okay, so here I've taken some acetate from Hero Arts and cut a small strip. I've adhered part of it to Harry on the bottom, and then folded the acetate over, and I fit it now in this slot that I've cut out. and so that he can move back and forth. So Jennifer McGuire has made a lot of videos showing using sliders, so when you don't have die cuts that are specific for it. So all I'm making here is a housing for it, using foam, double-sided foam, to raise up the card a little bit to allow for a track to be able to slide back and forth. And she has really great videos on this. But basically you want to you don't want to touch the acetate, and you don't want to touch the notch that you've cut in, or the track that you've cut in. So you want to make sure to adhere the double-sided foam reasonably far away from it, but enough so that it kind of encases it. So here I'm just cutting some side pieces. And my initial thought was actually to use a penny to make it slide back and forth, but it didn't work out as well as I wanted. So you'll see me adhere a piece of double-sided foam there, and I will have taken it off later. And I'm using a pull tab instead. So here you can see the pull tab. I tried the pennies, didn't work out so well. So, and it's a little bit rough at this point, so I'm kind of doing it back and forth a number of times. The more you do it, the better, so that it can really move more easily when the recipient gets it. So here I'm now taking off all the backing of the double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to adhere it to an A2 card base. And again, I'm going to do that quite a bit so it slides back and forth pretty easily. Okay, so I'm adding the final touches. I added the clouds. I actually added the Quidditch hoops, some more trees, and here I'm adding some stars. I'm using Connect glue and a jewel picker. I like to place my sequins first so that I like how they are, and then I sort of take them off the card with a jewel picker and put some glue underneath. For me, that just works out best. And actually I decided to put one more star. Didn't like that, so I moved it over, and I'll adhere that last star. Well, I hope you are super excited about the release next week. Next week I will be able to show on my video the stamp sets as a whole, and I hope you'll join me at that point. And I hope you enjoyed watching me create this card today. Thanks for stopping by.